Hello everyone, today I'm going to be sharing a few tips to help you get started with DevTools. If you're already familiar with DevTools, I'd recommend watching anyway. You never know, you might pick up some new, useful tips that you didn't previously know about. So let's get into it. I am here on the Scrimba Weekly Web Dev Challenge page. And if you don't know, Scrimba is a site where you can learn to code with lots of interesting interactive courses, and we have a weekly challenge. This week is social media for cats to help you test out your skills, and all the solutions are added to this page, which I have built along with some help from Scrimba students. I'll use this page to demonstrate what DevTools can do. So the first thing is how to open DevTools. I am on Mac, so I can open it by hitting Fn and F12. On Windows, it seems it's Shift Control J, or alternatively, on both Windows and Mac, you can right click and hit Inspect. DevTools is open. Woo woo woo. So the first thing is how to select an element. And to do that, you can either right click and inspect like we did just now, or go to the Elements tab, hit this arrow, and then you can just select whichever one you want. And then you can copy any element by right-clicking and then selecting what exactly you need to copy. And you can test out how your site would look without the element by deleting it. Maybe you want to delete a couple of them, but then if you decide you do want them, after all, no worries, just hit refresh and they come back. Bear in mind that this does have its pitfalls. If you refresh by accident, this won't save your work. So just be mindful of that. But it's not just the HTML you can copy. No, you can also copy styles. So I've got my div with a class of submission, and if I wanted to copy the styles from that, I can go to copy, right click, and then copy styles. And just to demonstrate to you that that has actually worked, I will hop over to Scrimba, start a new scrim, and then in my CSS, styles have been copied. Great news. The next thing you can do with DevTools is check out your contrast. So to do that, you simply hit your selector, hover over an element, and you will see in the information that pops up at the top of the accessibility section is contrast. And it's actually telling me that this contrast is not very good. So what I can do is come down here into my styles section, click this, and then it has selected a range of colors which would improve the contrast. But because this button is disabled, I wouldn't want to use any of these colors because then it would encourage the user to click. So instead, I'll just drag this here and select a darker gray, and now check it out again. And now you'll see next to my contrast is a nice green tick. But actually, disabled buttons are not a particularly great user experience, so it should be removed anyway. But that's a topic for another video. This has not actually changed my code. As soon as I refresh, it's going to disappear. So what I should do is select this, and I can copy the color from down here. There we go. Sometimes you might want to take a screenshot of an element which is bigger than the viewport height. DevTools has a way around this. So for example, if I want to take a screenshot of my page container, which as the name suggests contains most things on the page, what I can do is select the element, open the command menu. On a Mac, this is Command, Shift and P. Then I search for screenshot. If you select Capture Node Screenshot, it has indeed screenshotted my page container element, which is really handy. The next thing to show you is Lighthouse. And this is an automated website checker that can scan for the best practices in accessibility, security, and more. And you can find it by clicking this arrow and hitting the Lighthouse option. You can choose to check for various different options. I'm just going to go for accessibility on desktop. So generate report, Lighthouse is warming up, and you can see there is clearly some work I can do to improve the accessibility of this page. So let's have a look at what the issues are. The first thing is background and foreground colors do not have sufficient contrast ratio. And if you click it, it will show me which elements have that problem, and it's the button we identified earlier. It also says that the HTML element does not have a lang attribute. And what the lang attribute does is it tells our screen reader what language the page is in. So I should definitely set this to English to tell everyone that that is the language of the page. Naughtily, I also haven't added alt attributes to my images. So I should definitely add those to make it clear to anyone looking at the page with a screen reader that these are the submission entries. And the final problem is that the links do not have a discernible name. And this is because the images are the links. So fixing the alternate text will sort that out. So I'm definitely going to make these changes as soon as I can. So that's a brief look at Lighthouse. You can also have a look at security or best practices and various other things. Very handy. Another way to audit your page is the CSS Overview. So if you click this, hit Capture Overview, this will tell you lots of information about the CSS you've used on your site. So how many colors you've used, any contrast issues, information about your font, and any unused declarations. So sometimes it's very easy to make a declaration and then later you change the HTML. It's not used. Better to delete that. So it's very handy for identifying those. It's also good for identifying when a rogue font has slipped into your code. So for example, I would only want to use color on my page. Somewhere I have times. So I'm definitely going to track that down and weed it out. And the final thing I'd like to show you is device mode. This is a way to get an idea of what your site looks like on different devices. And you can reach it by clicking this button here, toggle device toolbar. And this is what my site will roughly look like on iPhone 6, 7 and 8. Bear in mind that this will only give you a rough idea and it's not completely accurate. So the best way to really test your site is to load it manually across a range of devices. You can also rotate it to check out what it would look like when the phone is rotated. And if you click edit from the list of devices, you can choose from even more. So if you're dying to know what your site looks like on a GeoPhone 2 and you don't happen to have one to hand for manual testing, you can hit that and then select it from the list. Oh, not very good. Yikes. So there is certainly some work to be done there. But let's check it out on an iPad. Not bad. You can also use device mode to check out how your site loads across different connection speeds. So if I'm going to have a look at a low-end mobile, this is what will happen. Ooh, images are loading slower than the rest of it. Worth knowing. I found many of these tips on umar.com. Umar is a web developer in the UK who runs this site to give us lots of useful DevTools tips. So I would definitely recommend checking out his site and I will leave this link below as well. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope it was useful. If you have any other DevTools tips you'd like to share, just leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.